Welcome back to Another Thing. I'm Larry Menti. As promised, we're now at Monmouth University in the office of Dean Ken Womack. He is Dean of the School of Humanities and Social Sciences. But for the purpose of this interview, we want to talk to him about the Beatles because he's the author of 8 Beatles books, including his latest book, Maximum Volume, The Life of Beatles producer George Martin, The Early Years, 1926 to 1966. This is the first volume in a 2-volume series. That was a lot to get out. I want to talk to you about the Beatles nowadays and their relevance today, because Sirius Radio just put on a Beatles channel and everybody was excited about it. Last year, iTunes was allowed to play Beatles music for the first time, and it made national news. What is it about the Beatles? They seem to be at another level from other groups.
Oh, they absolutely are. And you know, you're right. They're probably more popular than ever, and they're half dead. Quite literally half dead at this point. They've had an incredible run in this century. It probably started building up steam in the 90s with the anthology series. They really market themselves well to new generations, but it all comes back to the songs. But one of the reasons the Beatles are still around and new generations continue to discover them and love them has a lot to do with this guy right here behind me. George Martin didn't let any recording come out of his care that wasn't really high quality. And when you go back and you listen to other mid-1960s works by the Stones or the Who or the Kinks, they're great songs, but they weren't really well recorded, and that's the difference. There's a staying power that comes with that. I want to get to your latest book in a second and what you found out about George Martin. Before I do, I want to mention another book that you wrote, because it's on the same topic of their relevance, and that is The Evolving Artistry of the Beatles. How does their artistry evolve? Well, it evolves during their 7 years as a working recording band. So they evolved from the band that recorded Love Me Do with George Martin, first recorded it in June 1962, and they go all the way to the late summer of 1969 and that fabulous medley that ends their career with the song The End. There's a kind of mystical quality to the Beatles, too, that when new fans discover them, they realize that this is something precious. This isn't going to be at your local stadium anytime soon, other than Paul McCartney doing the hits package, on his great tours that he does. They have disappeared.
I remember
there's something legendary to that.
Oh, absolutely. And to your point, I remember every year there'd be rumors about the Beatles reunion and the Beatles getting together for a concert and the chances of the Beatles ever performing together. And that all disappeared when John Lennon was killed.
Sure, and I imagine it would have happened. The pressure was getting very high. John himself, in the last year of his life, had acknowledged that, I think was it UNICEF had offered something like $1 billion to the charity of their choice if they would do it, and it was the UN. And John said, at a certain point, if you can do $1 billion worth of good in 1980, how would you not do it?
What did you learn about this guy in writing the book?
Well, the great story of George Martin is the great story of the Beatles. They're all outsiders, and while I'm sure many of us, like yourself, have probably seen George and listened to his voice on YouTube clips, he sounds very posh and upper class. In truth, George was more lower class, working class than the Beatles were. What we're going to see with this book and what we've been learning in recent years about the Beatles story is that it wasn't a showbiz discovery story. It was a very reluctant partnership on George's part. They finally win him over in the fall of 1962. He yells at them, which he had done more than once, more of a stern lecture. But they had come in with the song, Please Please Me, and they played it really slow. And he said, well, that's no good. Why aren't you playing it fast? That's a hit. Why are you not doing that? Well, they hadn't thought of it. They went back to Liverpool, rehearsed it for a week, and they came back, and that's when they won him over, because he heard the acetates from that session and thought, they're doing what I tell them. Maybe these guys are okay. And that's when he started to throw his lot in with them. So it's a very different story that we're starting to be able to tell about.
And you were telling me a moment ago they fought all the time.
Sure, there's nothing new about that. But it's a new story, but I think it's a better one.
We'd be remiss if we didn't bring up the 50th anniversary of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Did that change music? What was the importance of that album?
Oh, absolutely. They had begun to refashion the idea of the album as work of art with Rubber Soul and certainly with Revolver. But Sgt. Pepper is when they really up their game as far as artistic statement. The idea that every track can be part of a larger statement about contemporary life. And that was the moment when the Beatles and George realized we're in the midst of a moment. Let's take it somewhere. And of course they do, and it ends with A Day in the Life, which elevates a great album to another level altogether.
And we have to take this to break now. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time. Ken Womack is the Dean of the School of Humanities and Social Sciences at Monmouth University. His current book is maximum volume, The Life of Beatles producer George Martin. We'll be right back. Coming up next, free swimming lessons to save kids from drowning. Dawn explains when Another Thing continues.